So this feature is one that we have not covered in class yet. However, we will be. But for those of you who are starting to look at the certification test, I definitely wanted to talk a little bit about creating and formatting charts. So when you're working with Excel, one of the benefits of Excel, one of the many benefits of Excel, is the fact that you can take your data and you can display it visually. So we've talked about conditional formatting, there are spark lines, there are lots of different things you can do with your data. However, one of the most powerful parts of Excel is being able to create a chart. So when you are looking to create a chart in Excel, one of the first things you need to do is to decide what data are you going to use. So I am going to select my data. Selecting your data is a key part, the key first part of getting started with chart making. Once I've selected the data, I can then go to Insert, and there is an entire section on charts. Each type of chart is geared towards different types of data. Therefore, if you're doing something for a project, you're probably going to be told exactly which type chart to use. If you're doing something for the certification test, you're going to be told exactly what to do. However, in general, I recommend that you sort of experiment a little. With the data you have, you see which type of chart will be the most effective. So I have selected my data. For demonstration purposes, I'm just going to do a very basic column chart. Once I have selected the chart type that I want, it is now inserted directly onto the current worksheet, or the worksheet where the data is. Probably one of the first things I will want to do is to allow my data to be visible too. So with my chart selected, you will see that my cursor looks like a four-headed arrow, so now I can just kind of drag my chart a little bit out of the way. So some things that will happen when you are working with a chart. Anytime your chart is selected, if you look at the top, you have chart tools. There are two contextual ribbons that give you all those tools you need to enhance or to change the look or the function of your chart. If I click away from my chart, those tools are no longer available. So in order to have chart tools, you do need to make sure your chart is active. One of the most basic things you can do is you can change the appearance. These are called chart styles. And if you're sitting for the certification test, you will most definitely be asked to choose a chart style, and they typically give you the style number, and you can see as I hover my cursor over the various styles, there will be the style name appear. So I'm just going to choose chart style 5. Other things you can do, you can add your own title. So if I click in that box, I can now rename my chart. I can also right-click various parts of my chart, and you will get format chart area. I can choose some of the data bars, and I can format the data series. Your chart basically has different areas. You have this entire box, which is called the chart area. This area in the center is called the plot area, and then you have different chart elements. So you have your axis on the side, your axis on the bottom. You can also click up here to add different items. Or this was added, I believe, in 2013. You can click this green plus. You can add titles to your axis. You can rearrange where your chart title appears. You could add data labels. So those labels will allow you to have numbers attached or associated with. Instead of just having the bars that represent numbers, you can actually attach the labels. You can opt to have no grid lines, or you can add more grid lines. You can also, if it's an appropriate type of chart, you can add a legend, which would be a key. If we had multiple colors here, this would explain what those colors are for. This particular chart, that doesn't necessarily work for. The other thing that you can do, if you select any part and double click, any part of your chart and double click, you will open up a chart pane over here that will be specific for the part of the chart you have selected. So here I have selected the axis. You can see that currently it starts at 0 and it goes to 6 million. I could go into some of the different options that are here. For access options, I could change this, so maybe I want to start at 1 million and go up to 6 million. And then it'll just adjust how my chart appears. I could also, this gives you options for fill, for lines. You can add some different effects with shadow. So each different part of the chart can be customized. Another thing that could be important, if you look here, each salesperson is only represented by a number, which although, because I only have 5 salespeople, which all happen to be my family incidentally, it wouldn't be too hard to put the numbers together. However, the goal is to make this as visually effective as possible. So what you may want to do is you may want to change the access information. So instead of having the numbers, I may want to actually list the salesperson's name. So what I'm going to do on the Design tab, I'm going to click Select Data. So here for this horizontal axis, you can see those numbers listed. What I want to do is I want to change those to the actual names of my salespeople. So I'm going to click Edit. When this box opens, what I'm going to do is select the cells or type in, but I selected the cells that have the salespeople's names, and then I click OK and OK. So now what I have done is I have changed both. I've made this access customized for the numbers that I'm working with, and I have customized this to go from just numbers to the actual sales associate's name. One more thing that you can do, actually there are many more things that you can do, but another thing that you can do, by default this chart is going to appear on the same worksheet where the data is contained. That may be appropriate, but if you have a chart, if you have a lot of data, the chart may get lost on the page. So with my chart selected, I can click Move Chart. I can choose to send it to another one of my existing worksheets, or I can create a new worksheet. And I can name my new worksheet. And what Excel did is it took that table or that chart and gave it its own worksheet. It is no longer coexisting with the actual data. There are many more things you can do with charts. When we get to this section, I encourage you, although you'll be looking to meet the requirements of the assignment, I encourage you to experiment, because charts can be whatever you want them to be.